So, chaps have invited Kori onto MANUP really, just for a bit of a natter because we kind of followed each other for a little while. We've been WhatsApping, and I kind of like you, mate. Actually, you're pretty sound. So, do
Thanks.
you want to introduce yourself? Is that weird bit?
Yeah, I hate this bit. Yeah, I'm Kori Sampson, 29, and I do. Some people would call me influencer. I don't like the word influencer, but I also don't like the word content creator, and I think that's what it's become now.
Yep.
And sometimes I don't want to put myself into the box of content creator. However, I do think I have influence because of my following, and I think it's important to understand that and to use it for like a positive. Um, Initially I went onto TV and I thought I wanted to chase a reality TV lifestyle and I wanted the money and the probably the attention and stuff when I was a bit younger. This is about 6 years ago now, when I first did it, maybe seven. And I realized that's not the be all and end all or what I wanted. And now I'm doing I basically put myself through hell doing ultra endurance stuff in fitness challenges and different things like that. And I talk a lot about sobriety and mental health on my page, and I'm trying to influence younger lads into a more positive kind of outlook on life and sort of lifestyle.
Like I said, off air sounds professional. I think role models like you, and you are a role model. You do have influence, and I like the fact that you're well aware of that, and you don't want to abuse it. Probably the wrong word, but hopefully that kind of makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
You want to use your influence to help society.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And obviously in general, but like from a relatability point of view, I am quite still an early age younger male, but obviously I've gone through this sort of life cycle that a lot of young lads do. So they're probably the most relevant to me influencing, right? So because I've been through it, I've been through what they're going through and what they're doing. And yeah, it's something. It's just from a personal point of view. I used to do things that were quite selfish, and even some of the running stuff that I do now and the endurance stuff, like it's been quite a selfish pursuit. And obviously, it's helped. It has influenced people, and people see it and they get inspired by it or whatever. And that so it is a positive anyway. It's a net positive, but I've really realized in the last year or so my fulfillment from doing these things hasn't been what it could be because one, I was just looking for internal validation doing it. But I
Hmm.
think there's an external factor that I can help other people in a more like direct way by doing this stuff while I'm doing it. So that's kind of what I want to carry on moving forward.
No, good on you, man. And the one thing about the whole fitness world up to a point, I don't want to do a sweeping statement, but I do find a lot of it is a little bit. I know toxic is thrown around a lot.
Mm.
I think I'm a massive fan of fitness and all this. Could I do better? We could all do better. Do you
Yeah.
get what I mean? But it's either you are the bollocks or you're just a waste of space, and that in between just I just think gets forgotten about.
Yeah, I do. I feel like there is a lot of that, and there's also in some aspects like you could say like toxic masculinity and all of them things alongside it. But I think like the the overall like impact of it is just really positive. And I
Yeah.
feel like when you look at people like Joe Rogan and stuff, and they're not specifically fitness influencer people like that kind of thing. But he's got a podcast where he talks to like loads of different people. He's a comedian, but he still goes on about how important it is every single day. He's in the sauna, ice bath, then he trains and he's eating well and he's doing like all of that stuff. I think is so important,
Yeah.
and it's such a I don't know. It's kind of saved me from a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of share my experience and my story with people because it has took over my life, but I think in a very positive way. And it can be a lot of pressure. And we talked about pressure earlier and off air, but like with younger people, but I think it's like positive pressure. This
Yeah.
is like good pressure. This is I did a post yesterday actually. It was called Pressure is a Privilege. It was like an audio that I found.
I'm glad I saw that, and
Yeah.
I wanted to tap into that because that
Yeah.
pressure is a privilege. I like that.
So like I think there's like negative pressure with like society and masculinity and like money kind of with younger lads, I think that pressure isn't great. Like chasing something that's quite empty, because once you get there and you realize it's not all that, then you kind of can share your experience with other people. Like I feel like I've kind of got to a point where I have made a lot of money and I've done quite well for myself, but it's like it still won't make you happy.
Yeah.
However, like the the pressure that I put on myself to like achieve these audacious goals and push myself in a healthy way and to achieve like really cool stuff, like that pressure makes you feel really alive and it makes you feel fulfilled and it makes you feel like accomplished. And that's where I've kind of found my happiness. Like seeking out comfort in just having an easy life, it doesn't
Mm.
make you happy or content, and it's actually quite the opposite sometimes mentally. But when you can like really focus on like this pursuit of discipline towards something, like you you do find it. It's quite an undescribable thing until you kind of put yourself in that position. But yeah, that's why I say like pressure is a privilege. I really like the term.
No, I like that. So I saw, I think it was earlier or yesterday, and I was, oh, well, I'll maybe tap into that one. So
Yeah,
I thought that was a good post. So well done to you. And I think that's the problem with with society. I can only really speak from a male's point of view, especially because of the men's mental health charity. I think we're just training everybody to. I don't think it's on purpose to keep chasing a dream. What probably some of us, I think sometimes we just dream too much.
yeah, and not do.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then what happens is we don't hit those dreams, and we just kind of give up, and then that's when all the horrible stuff kind of kicks in, and
Yeah.
it'd be nice just to have a big bloody reset, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I think culturally as well, it's like it's quite. I think maybe it's the UK, but like in America they have like the American dream, right? It's
Yeah,
always a thing, and everyone like it's quite happy chasing it, and everyone's like really optimistic about it. But I feel is here like there it isn't. It's everyone. It's almost like tall poppy syndrome. Everyone's a bit like fed up. No one wants to see other people do well. And if you do outgrow everyone, they want to chop you down to their level, like a
yeah.
crabs bucket kind of ideology. And I think the UK is very much like that. And it's just because as a nation, we're like a bit more pessimistic than there. And that's the experience I've kind of had. But personally, for me, I've always had this like blind faith in like where I wanted to get to in life.
Hmm.
So even when things were really challenging and I've gone through issues with mental health and stuff, I think a lot of it's come from being a bit conflicted and a bit lost because I had this faith in myself, and then my actions weren't aligning with it because I was going out every weekend and I spent 75% of my life feeling like shit because of substances and drinking addiction and stuff. So I think that's like a big factor. Is I think everyone's a bit lost and they don't see the way out.
I'd agree with that, and I think the younger generation, especially boys, are getting worse for it as well.
Yeah. And
I,
you
I
I think social media has like really positive impacts on things, but also very negative. And it like people say like it's a highlight reel and you take everything with a pinch of salt. Like in a sense it is, but personally for me, like mine isn't. I'm doing what I'm saying I'm doing every single day. Like
yeah,
but there's a lot of like you can see everything now. So kids are getting seen this lifestyle that they're only if you're only like 16, you can't expect to be in the same position as other people in unless
yeah.
you've come from like a family that's put you into that position already and you've lived a certain way. So they look up from the outside and they're like, well, why have I not got that? Why have I not got this? And then it makes them even more unhappy. And then that's when you start to, like I said with the pressure earlier, the negative pressure, that's when that starts applying. And I think that's where a lot of the issues are coming from.
Yeah. I just think we're everything now is quick wins.
Yeah.
I think quick wins and just give up before because I think we're not. I think it falls back to your pressure with privilege. I misquoted it, so I apologize. I think people are so scared to fail now, so they just quit before they even get started.
Yeah. Or don't try.
Well,
Don't
yeah,
try.
exactly that, and just sit there doom scroll. And we can all doom scroll and all this kind of stuff. I think it's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
bad. So
I can't say I don't. Sometimes I try slate it off as work, and I get lost on there a little bit, and it isn't work. Do you know what I mean? But
No, no,
yeah,
we all do it. The one
yeah,
platform I stay well away from is TikTok. I think
yeah,
TikTok is dangerous. Instagram Reels, I must admit, on my personal profile, I have got a bit of a, mine's all motorbikes and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
People being silly, but
You know
whatever.
what it is? I read a book called The Scarcity Brain by Michael Easter, and it talks about how things can become addictive and how they literally like create these systems to make this stuff addictive. So you can't feel bad about getting addicted to it because it's literally set up for you to do that. And
Yeah,
they have this casino in Vegas. It's closed off to the public. All of the big tech investors have money in it, and they basically just send people in and just test them. And they just want to make, how can we make you get as stuck on something as possible? And that's why they've mastered slot machines and casinos. And then it's the same with the apps. On everything across the board, it's like the way that it is so fast, and it's to do with like releasing dopamine and unpredictable reward systems. And it's kind of like going back to us as primal, where we're like looking for food and we come across some berries and we're like, oh, there's like 10 berries here. That's like enough to eat for lunch, but we need more. And then the next bush is 100 berries, but we've walked like 5 miles to get there. Do you know what I mean? So that's
yeah,
how our brains are wired up, and
yeah,
they know that they can tap into that. And then it's just like getting us addicted to the dopamine,
yeah.
which is why all these healthy things are so important to get to discover. And once you learn, like, you can go in the cold and you can go out in outside and spend hours out in nature and stuff, like all of them things, you really notice a difference.
Yeah, no, without question. I've said many times like that. This is why I love winter camping,
Yeah,
winter wild camping, and all this kind of stuff. I love it with the snow, the ice, minus
yeah.
20 and all.
I
I
ain't got that
absolutely love
far
it.
yet.
There is a little bit of masculinity in there. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Of course, I
yeah,
love the photo of the ice hanging off the hat, and of course I do. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie on that. But to me, I think it's more because I have to switch off from absolutely everything. Well, mostly because I'm forced because there's no mobile phone signal anyway.
yeah.
But it's more because I have to, I have to rely on myself. I have to know what I'm capable of.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
how do I keep myself alive at like minus 17, minus 20, and all this kind of stuff? Do you know what I mean? The same as when I'm racing motorbikes. I have to just zone in just on that.
It's the same as like I said about seeking out discomfort instead of seeking comfort
Yeah,
to make you feel alive, because it does. And I first real experience with it a couple of years back. I did 220 kilometers in Africa, but we had to camp in between. So it was 5 days, and we ran like from one place to the next, up Kilimanjaro a bit, down to the next one. And we had to camp in the tents in between the race. And I'd never camped really, other than when I was a kid, like going
yeah,
to lying where I was and going for a piss up or something. Like that was the only time I've ever been camping. And mate, it was such an experience, like being in this little bubble and just detaching from the world. Like you said, there was no phone signal. I was like running for 10 hours a day, so I was just literally focused on like one foot in front of the other in food and water and like surviving almost in it through this thing. And I'd never really ran more than 50k. It was every day was like the longest run I'd done from the third day in.
yeah.
It was just such a like liberating experience, and it was like the best experience of my life. And now I seek out these really hard things to try. I guess it's like the same as like doing substances for the first time. Like you get a high and then you're trying to chase the next high. That's
Yeah.
what I feel like I'm doing now with this stuff, but
Yeah.
in obviously a much more positive way than what I was doing before.
Yeah, no, and I can tell straight away, and after speaking to you on WhatsApp or whatever else for a couple of months, I can tell you actually talk the talk as well as walk the walk as well.
Yeah, try to.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to, don't you?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
fit
You
and
get
there's
found.
super.
You get found out in these things and stuff, and yeah,
No,
it's
exactly. No, exactly that. So yeah, I don't know if anyone wants it. I think that's sort of the. I know we all say just turn your phone off for a day, but I think if all social media or if the internet just went down for 48 hours, it'll be really interesting to just to watch what happens. I think there'll be a lot of people completely and utterly lost and not realise there are birds outside.
yeah.
Do you get me? There's fields, there's walking up the road and whatever else.
Oh, it'll be worse than going into lockdown, I think, for
No,
people.
exactly that. Yeah, absolutely. So do you get just out of interest then? Do you get many lads and that looking for you for guidance? You must do.
Yeah, I get messaged a lot by people asking kind of like how I a lot of the time. people ask about motivation to do stuff, like how do you stay motivated or find a motivation, I find it hard to answer it because I've been I've been doing what I've been doing since I was like 17. Like there was a bit of a turning point for me with school. Like I was always into sport and stuff, but I was never that good at anything. And I don't know what it was, but something just flicked in me. I started going to the gym every day. I wanted to get six pack. I wanted to do like whatever. I wanted to like get a bit bigger and look a bit better, maybe egotistically at the start. And then I started boxing, did bodybuilding for a bit, went back into boxing, and then started the running. And I think I've always had like the motivation. I don't really have to seek it out.
Yeah.
But I do get a lot of messages, and even I had one actually really nice one. When was I? I was coming back from a flight from something I'd done, one of the races or something, and I'd been posting about it. And a dad actually messaged me, and it was
Okay.
his son was like 21 or something, and I won't go into details about like some stuff, but he said that he was is into his fitness and he does like a bit of high rocks and all this stuff, like which is the trend at the moment, and he's going out every weekend and he's really conflicted, and then he went missing and he got brung home by the police, I'm pretty sure he said, and he was a bit pissed off with him, like you do when you're that age and whatever. It's like it,
We've all been there. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And he said he's apparently this lad showed his dad me a couple of times. His dad was like a sports coach as well, so he's
Okay.
obviously in still like in good shape and keeps fit and whatever. And he showed me, apparently he'd been showing him me and like what I've been talking about with sobriety and things like that. And he was like, would you be able to just message him and give him some advice and just a bit of your experience and whatever. And I did. I was like, yeah, of course. I replied to the dad and I replied to the kid because it was such a big message as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like it's just a bit of bullshit, and I know they're not going to take anything in, and they don't really want to know. They're
Yeah.
just like looking for a reply from me or whatever. But this was like he proper put some time and effort in. So I was like, responded, said I'll reach out. So I said, message, tell him to message me and I'll reply to him. And so he did. And then I had a chat with him. I was like, come down. So I've got a run club. I was like, come meet me, mate. And like, can have a chat
Wow.
and just, he hasn't actually come yet. So you might see this. He might come down,
Well,
but
okay.
I
Yeah.
think he should.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Don't say his name, please.
no, no, no. But it's just like, yeah, I get a lot of that. And I think I get a lot more fulfillment out of that than I used to get. I used to get like hundreds of thousands of likes on things, and I don't
Yeah.
really get that much anymore. I think kind of things come and go, but I've been in the game for a long time on social media, and I'm way more fulfilled getting 10 messages when I put something out from people that it's actually impacted and want to know more and are like impressed with what I'm doing and like really like it impacts them rather than just getting 100,000 likes on a photo and half of it being like 70% of it being girls and they've commented a couple fire emojis on it just because I look good. Do you know what I mean? I get
Yeah.
more fulfillment out of what I'm doing now. So that, yeah, that's why I'm still pushing it and trying to push this message really to them.
Good on you, man. And like I said, you are. I want to see more role models like you.
Yeah, I think it's hard because like, there was a trend the other week and it was like having a coffee with your younger self. Did you see that on TikTok and stuff?
No, I don't think
And
I did. No, I've
they
seen so many now. It's just
yeah,
yeah.
it was quite a nice one because it was like a song, but it was like write a conversation you'd have if you met yourself for a coffee like younger.
Oh,
And
okay.
I said like in it, I was like, oh, I told younger me, he went, are we still partying every weekend and like having all this fun and like getting the girls and doing all the shit? And I was like, nah, mate, I've actually been sober for nearly 3 years. And he was like, oh, that sounds boring. And I was like, no, we needed to because we kept losing control.
Yeah.
And that was like the conversation I'd have with younger me. And then I said, you need to stop wasting time because everyone lies to us about how long life is and how much time we have and all this. And I think you don't. I think you've only got one life, and it's quite liberating to know that and to understand that, and then realize you need to do something with it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I remember years ago when I was a boy. I remember like people saying to me, "It was just like look, your life will speed up." Like, no, it won't. No, it won't. And you just ignore it, innit? But
Yeah,
it does, doesn't it? Like, how many times do we say like, what is it, 18th of April now? It was like it was like New Year's Eve the other day.
yeah, literally, literally. And it's even myself, like, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I know that, and I thrive off it, and I think some people can't cope in a certain sense with it, but like I had all these goals for the start of the year and I've ticked all these things off and I've got like a list of stuff from last year that didn't manage to finish and I've set all these goals for this year. And I looked at it the other day and I was like, fuck, 4 months into the year and I haven't done that much yet that I've said I
Yeah.
was going to do. Do you know what I mean? So even me, I'm like chasing all this stuff and putting pressure on myself, but like it comes around fast and you
Yeah.
got to understand that. I've got Memento Mori tattooed on my neck and that's basically means we all die someday. And you might look at that from two different ways, but the stoic like translation of it is like we're all mortal, we're gonna die.
Yeah.
So fuck, like get on with it, basically get on with life and do something. You could look at it from the point of view as, oh, we all die someday, just enjoy it, fucking piss your life up the wall while you're in your 20s and then try scrape it back when you turn 30 kind of thing. It's not the best way to look at it. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of how I was looking at it when I was a bit younger. And I think it's I think that adds to the problems because once you get to a certain point and you think, fucking hell, I'm like nearly 30 now and I haven't done anything with my life, that's
Yeah.
where things
Yeah.
start going pear shape as well. So, yeah.
No, exactly. That's going to be a nice little sort of load of little nuggets there for the
Yeah.
social media, man.
Yeah.
No, that was, but I think it's that kind of conversation where we need to be highlighting that more, not just for the younger generation of boys or girls, but also I think even like people even double our age have forgotten that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like just calm stuff down
Yeah.
and just
I really experienced it firsthand when I went to Kenya the other week for a safari, which was an amazing experience, like life changing. But makes you feel like so small and like our problems aren't as big as we think sometimes. And it's
yeah,
like you can really like even it sounds a bit like laddie daddy, but like grounded, putting your feet on the floor,
yeah,
especially there, like just walking around, like it's so I don't know, it just makes you feel so amazing. And I kind of went there in a bit of a like, oh, have I got enough time to go away for a week when I've got this race coming up in this and I'm doing this work and I've got like back to back things. I'm coming back and flying somewhere else for something else. And then as soon as I got there, I was just like gone.
yeah,
It was just amazing. And
yeah,
just obviously besides the fact of staying in a beautiful place and seeing the animals and whatever, but it was like you see like lions eating something and you're just like circle of life. Like that's what we used to do. We just used to go out and find some food and survive and then
exactly.
be in your community and your family and people around you that you love and stuff and then get up the next day and do the same thing.
Yeah. It's just weird though, isn't it? I think we're now trained as a society, whatever generation, to watch other people enjoy their life. Like
Yeah.
people sooner watch you in Kenya than go themselves and go, oh look, I'd love to have that one day. Well, you don't need to go to Kenya to feel the sand. Go to Jaywick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go climb Scarfell Pike or something. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I think we're just always just comparing ourselves constantly.
Yeah.
And it does
I,
feel weird. Like,
I think it's quite nice to see, say, like for me, like I talk a lot about the gratitude I show for where I am and what I'm doing, but also just like I posted on the way to I was shooting a campaign for a branding modeling thing in Malaga straight after,
yeah,
and I was on the way there, and obviously like I'm even when I was there, it was just highlighted, but I got an email about a labouring job I was from when I was back home doing that kind of thing. It was like £14 an hour now. It was even less when I was actually doing it. But I had
yeah,
this email still set up and it's an old email. And I had the email like, oh, £14 an hour labouring job, digging holes, doing this. Like, and I was like, I'm on my way to make like really good money just to basically just like pose, look the way that I look. Obviously, it's a lot goes into it, like looking after yourself to lead up to it. But and I was doing some running and whatever, and I was just doing stuff I enjoy, working like it's almost surreal, but I can like I get messages all the time about young lads that are like, how did you get into what you're doing and how like and it's like I come from there. That's what
yeah.
I was doing. And I managed to get out of it. And now I'm doing what I'm doing now. And it kind of gives people a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can look at it and go, if he did it, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly, and yeah, I think it's just that starting post, isn't it? Really, of just
yeah,
we need to be encouraging more people to actually start,
yeah.
especially younger generation, and
Do you know what? When I was on site, I used to read I had the time in between what we were doing. I used to read like on my lunch breaks and stuff. I sit in the canteen on a building site reading like self-development books or self-help books, and people used to be like, "What are you doing?" Like, and I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't feel like I fitted into the conversations, and I just wanted to work on myself. And I'd go home and I'd go to the gym, I'd go cook my meal prep for the next day, and I'd stay in really good shape, even though, and I ended up going into this really bad phase of drinking and drugs and all that stuff. Like at the same kind of time, I still looked after my physical health in a way, and tried to look after my mental health and be quite self-aware. And I think I just started doing and chipping away, even though I was conflicted with all this other stuff. I
Mm.
still trying to do something and trying to break away from it. And I think that's like it's just starting.
No, good on you. So if I just before to draw to a close, I'm just conscious of the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it you? But how do you not turn all of this into like an addiction with so much pressure of looking good and people looking up to it? How do you because you seem to stay on the healthy side of it, if that kind of makes sense.
I think people like I personally I consider myself an addict in general.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic. I wouldn't even say I was like a drug addict. I got addicted to certain drug for a period of time because of my personality and the way that I am. I do get addicted to things. I've got ADHD, which also gives you a precursor to stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think being able to channel it into stuff that is healthier for you, still
Yeah.
an addiction.
Yeah.
Like I'd say I'm addicted to coffee. I'd say I'm
Yeah.
addicted to caffeine now. Quite overstimulated, but I train a lot. I train twice a day, and I feel like you kind of need to get through it sometimes and get through the day in general. But it's an addiction, right? And in training in health in itself can become an addiction. And I think at one point when I was bodybuilding, I had a bit of a, I wouldn't say like an eating disorder, but I was so addicted to bodybuilding that I was so regimented with stuff like in a negative way.
Yeah.
So there is like addiction's addiction, but it's also why now I wouldn't promote if someone was to, so I've been offered money for like promoting say like vapes and things like that, and I wouldn't do that because I'm not a smoker and I don't do any of them things. Offered massive money even when I was just coming off TV and I was a little bit more inclined to like drink and do all the other things. I still wouldn't promote something like that because I don't think it's right. And the same now with gambling. I've never had a problem with gambling, but I've got friends that have issues with gambling from when we've left school, and I've lost friends because of it, because they run out of money, then they start borrowing money, and then it becomes a falling out kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've seen that addiction damage other people, and I've seen how addiction damaged my life, and I nearly let it take control. So I don't want to be a bad influence to anyone that could get influenced by this addiction,
Mm.
because it's not, there's nothing positive about any of that stuff, any of them addictions. There isn't anything positive. And I think if I talk about the way I'm addicted to stuff that isn't bad for you and it is positive, like, then that's fine. I'll promote that, as in health and wellness, fitness, all of that stuff. So I think you just kind of replace one thing with another,
Yeah.
and you do have to understand it. But I think also being like aware that you are and what you're doing is also important. Um,
It's
yeah.
it's, ta it's taking accountability as well, isn't it?
Yeah, like I talk about it like sometimes like with people talk about balancing. I think like you go through periods of times where like other stuff will take priority. Like if it could be to do with relationships or like social life in like with what I do with training and doing these goals, like it does take over a little bit sometimes. And
Yeah.
I understand that. And it's a price that I'm willing to pay. It's like not just sacrificing going out and having fun or whatever people want to talk about. Like sometimes you have to sacrifice other things. And that's just part of the price you pay, I think, with like I am quite motivated, like high achieving in person. And I think like you can't really have that much of a balance and do these things. But at the same time, I understand I don't want to just put my foot on the pedal and live in this like pressure cooker like constantly. And I am really good at detaching from that sometimes and
Yeah.
just back to real life and just slowing down. And I do a lot of breath work, and I focus on like sauna and ice bath and recovery and all them things so much because of that. I think
Yeah.
it's needed.
No, good on you, man. It's you're very regimental.
Yeah, I am a bit too much sometimes, but I think like for me, discipline is like freedom, and
Yeah.
The way when I'm like working towards these things and like when I'm locked into a process, because I was injured for a couple months end of last year, and I didn't feel lost because I could still train and do other things, and I just
Yeah.
like just changed the direction slightly of where I was going. But when I'm like training for something like a hard event or a race, or like the thing I'm doing in the summer, which we're gonna be people are gonna see more of you guys alongside it.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing better than being in that process. That's
Yeah.
what I enjoy, really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And I found that it's very fulfilling and gives you some purpose. In it almost like in one way, it's like quite you need to be careful because it goes so high that when you finish it, you drop straight off a cliff because you're
Yeah.
like, what do I do now? Well,
Yeah.
like so you got to be careful and manage it. But I think I've got some experience in it now, and I think yeah, but obviously if it can help other people, then I'm willing to go all in on it. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you know what you said one thing which I kind of liked actually was it discipline is freedom.
yeah,
And actually, do you know what if
Epictetus is
I think it's a few years ago I'd be like oh, whatever, but
yeah,
actually now I kind of get it. It's like that saying, isn't it? What they say about a trained dog. A trained dog is a happy dog.
yeah, yeah. It's so
Yeah,
it's free the term freedom is mental freedom because you don't have to like there's no decision fatigue, there's no like questioning yourself because you're locked into this thing, and it's like that discipline is the freedom you get. There's
yeah,
another quote that I really love. I've posted it before on stuff. It's no man is free who is not a master of themselves. And it's the same, it's mental freedom because you once you're like when you're not disciplined, you have all this conflicting stuff going on, like should I do this, should I do that, you know what you need to do, and that's it. So I really like all the stoic kind of stuff, and I think it gives you a bit of direction and a bit of like clarity sometimes when you're questioning.
absolutely, absolutely. Oh, I'm a massive support of all of that kind of stuff. It's just hold ourselves accountable at times. I know that's easier said than done sometimes. I think, but once you've cracked it, you'll be a, a happy dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Than
exactly.
that. So
We're just
yeah.
we're just animals at the end of the day, like this. Like
No,
you,
yeah, no, absolutely. So just before we draw to credit, and then we'll be killing it off, I mean, in a nice way. So if anyone's watching, because when I upload this, probably next week, when I upload this, there'll be some people saying, "Oh, it's easy for you guys," whatever else. Like, what would you say for those who might be just struggling and just going, "Oh, it's easy for you, don't know what it's like."
it wasn't always easy for me.
Yeah,
And the reason it is easy for me now and easy for me to talk about and stuff is because I've been through it and I've done all this stuff to get to where I am. And now I understand that. And even like when I come off TV and I had this following and I was talking about certain things and whatever, like I wouldn't talk too much about this stuff because I was going through it myself and I was still conflicted. And I felt like if I did talk about mental health in like stuff because I was still getting on it all the time and feeling like shit most of the time. I was like, well, just be chatting shit. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I'd just be lying. So until I got to the point where I was like, I'm actually doing all this stuff and I've been through it and I know I can help people. That's when I started to talk about it.
yeah,
And people go to me like, oh, it's easy for you to like to do all this health stuff and to eat the right food and blah blah blah. It's what I do for a job now. But even when I was on a building site 12 hours a day, I used to get up, I'd go to the gym, do cardio at like 5 a.m. I'd go to work, I'd labor most of the day. I'd eat 3 meals that I'd prepped the day before. I'd go back to the gym and do weight training. Like I was bodybuilding with a full-time job. That was hard. It wasn't like just sat at a desk chilling. And I still did it then. So
yeah,
you can't really say that. And then people go like, oh, but then wait till you have kids as well. And then it's like, but it's like, I've got friends that are still have kids and they still do all this stuff. And they're like, they've got successful businesses and they're from what you can tell from the outside, they're like happy with their lives and they're doing really cool stuff. So you can't say that because people are doing it. People are living it. And that's what I'd say to people is like, you need to just take a bit of like responsibility for it
yeah,
and do the
yeah,
work, and
yeah,
then you never know, you could be talking about it as well, and then people will be calling you
yeah.
whatever, saying it's easy for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, so I'm a massive supporter of accountability. And do you know what? Accountability is one of those things where some people can get quite upset. Accountability is sometimes actually up to a point, even just asking for help because you're struggling to do it yourself.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? It's literally just saying, like, can you help me out with this one kind of stuff? And this is why I chose the name of Man Up. Some people don't like it. Now I don't care. If
yeah,
I'm honest with you, the true meaning of man up in the dictionary is to be brave enough to deal with an unpleasant or an awkward situation.
yeah. So
Sometimes
sometimes,
that could be, Corey, can you help us out with something, mate?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do
Or
you know
like
what
sometimes it's like we just ignore that we've got a problem or that there is a problem until it gets too much to ignore.
Exactly,
So
exactly that.
yeah,
On that bombshell, because you're one of those where I know we could just keep going all day, and
yeah,
then my son will be like, "Are we actually going to cinema?"
yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see the WhatsApp already
Sorry,
on there
like I said, I
but
didn't realize
yeah,
it's a bank holiday.
no, exactly. Let me hit the unrecord button. One sec, mate.